Okay, so this project is it's a 1,200 square foot house, so it's 30 feet wide and 40 feet deep. That's the front, and then it's got a front porch that's 6 feet deep and 16 foot wide. There's that footing for it here, so the sidewalk will come up, and the front door's in the center. And then it's got a view of there's a pond behind the house. It's actually on the golf course, technically, but there is a pond straight behind, so that's kind of nice. I do like smaller houses, and you know, this is a spec house, so I do smaller, kind of specialize in those, 800, 1,000, 1,200 square feet. I will build bigger for other people. I've built, well, in California I was building 7,000 square foot houses, so anyway, I just like this market. They're easy to build, and but you have to be, you have to be cost conscious, because the profit margins on small, that's why a lot of builders don't build them, because they're not as profitable generally. I mean, which is why I'm doing a raised wood floor here, because it's cheaper. Here in Texas, everybody does slab on grade, mostly post-tension. Post-tension slab on grade now is about $11 a square foot. I mean, they used to be around $8, but I mean, just the last couple of years, things have really went up. Even less than, even like $750. So I do these. What I do is I do these 2x8s for the form, so they're 7 1/4 inches tall, and then 12 inches wide, and so it's a strip with a 2 No. 5 rebar in it. It goes all the way around the outside of the house, and then there's one down the center that picks up all the floor joists. So there's a here down the center here. See, so then this is all your floor joist sets. It's pretty simple. And my other houses are the other ones I do this. They're the same width basically, and they're just different lengths. And then I do a pony wall. I think this is 12 or 12.5 inches. Pressure treated, and then I put 16 inches up. I put pressure treated plywood all the way around, because I don't like non-pressure treated wood being that close to the ground, and I just figure it gives, there's termite issues here in Texas, so it just gives the termites a reason to, maybe they'll come up to and go, this is a pressure treated house, and go somewhere else. I don't know. Anyway, so I do that, and then of course OSB all the way up. As far as the floor system, this costs, even with my labor, or if I pay somebody, because sometimes I pay people to frame it, it's like half the price of a concrete slab floor. And I use 2x10s 12 inches on center instead of 2x12s 16 inches on center, because for some reason, especially since COVID, 2x12s they're like double the price of 2x10s. I don't know why. I mean, I think 2x12 16 foot are around $30, and these are $15. So it takes 92 of these to do this floor with the rim joists, and I put the doublers where where the bigger walls are. I double up like down here where the longer walls are. And it would take 77 2x12s to do the same floor, including with the doublers, because obviously they're farther apart. And maybe the difference in labor is maybe a day. This whole thing from the plating and on up this is like 4 days, and they're not long days either. Me by myself. So let's say it took an extra day to do, because there's more of them, for example, because if it's 77, if I use so there's what, 15 difference basically, something like that. I save about $1,000 roughly on material cost. The floor is just as good, and I mean, I don't normally make $1,000 a day, so I don't know if you do, but so I, to spend that extra time, even if it took me an entire day, which it doesn't, but we're just using round numbers here. I'm $1,000 ahead by using 2x10s, and it still meets the requirements. There are no inspections here in Texas. If you're building in a county area, if you're building in a city proper, depending on the city, like Houston or Dallas, or if you're on the coast where there's hurricane issues, yeah, there is building inspection, engineering, and all that. But basically, all the rest of Texas, any county area, there isn't any of that. So nobody's inspecting any of this, but it's still, you know, everybody builds to code, you know. But I mean, because people know what to do. So this still meets code for the span ratings for southern yellow pine, which is the lumber that we use down here mostly. Although for 2x4s, I always order spruce pine fir SPF, because yellow pine is really unstable. It's very strong, but it twists and turns a lot, so it makes really lousy 2x4s. So I always order those in either hemlock or SPF, even if they cost a little more, like these here. Oh, the other thing is, when you get lumber delivery, tell the company that you want to be there. Now they tell the, you know, they have the guy call when he's on his way, so you can be there, and then you can have him put the material right next to. So you're not, you know, carrying. I always figure 1 minute with a machine is 1 hour by hand, right? Basically, right? Whether it's an excavator, you know, 1 minute with an excavator is 1 hour with a shovel. 1 minute with the spider, which is the forklifty, it's kind of like a forklift that they use to take the lumber off the truck and place it on the job site. Anyway, I mean, 1 minute with that, I mean, they lift these whole packs of lumber and put them wherever you want. So as you can see, I've got, you know, I've got my wall studs here, my floor decking, which is the green one, and then, oh, the compressor's talking. Hold on a second. If you ever need a compressor, these are the best. They're expensive. They're like $700-800, and they're hard to find unless you go online. This is my second one. I bought my first one in the 90s, and it lasted that many. It was still working, but it's just like, okay, it's time for a new one after like 30 years. But anyway, yeah, so you can have them put, you know, you can have them put all your lumber where you want it, so you're not carrying stuff all over the place. I mean, why beat yourself up? Even if you're in your 20s. I mean, I was a framer when I was in my 20s and 30s, and I'm in my 60s, so I just do these, and I only do them in this time of the year. Here in the summertime, I'm not going to be out there framing. It's 100 degrees, you know. Let these young guys do it. But anyway, yeah. So see, all the Hardy. This is the all Hardy house. There's no brick on this one. Brick is common here, but as you can see in the subdivision, the houses aren't collapsing all over the place and falling down, and we have no building inspection. So, like I said, people pretty much know what they're supposed to do, so they just do it, and they don't like really try to cut corners and create all these problems. I lived in California and built there for several years, and there it takes 6 months to get a building permit, and then you got all these inspections. Here, there are no building permits. You just get permission from the POA and or if it's not in a POA, you just build. I mean, there's nobody telling you what to do. It's really nice. But anyway, yeah. So here, I use the 2x10s. The really crooked ones, the ones that are crowned really bad. You know, if they're the narrow way, if they're crooked, it doesn't matter because the blocking and everything will straighten them out. But if they're crowned, of course, you can't straighten it out even if you sit on it. So what I do is I save those and use those for the rim joists. And as you can see, I put cuts in them. Right, just with the saw, I leave maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches of uncut wood at the top, and then I can just force it down on top, you know, and then it just bends down. It's a good way to use up the crooked ones. And then there's a few other crooked ones I had in addition to what I needed for rim joists. So what I did is I put a straight one next to it, made a pencil line, actually cut the crown out of it the long way. You know, if you leave the crown in there, like here I'm using luxury vinyl floors, I'm not using carpet, it'll show. You know, the light will come in through the window, wash the floor, and then you'll see a hump in the floor where there's a really crooked crown joist. So spend that extra 2 minutes to put a pencil mark on it, put it next to a straight one, and then just cut the crown out of it. Basically, I mean, it's not going to hurt the joist. I mean, most of the crowns are maybe a 1/2 inch or 5/8 at the most would be really bad, but that'll show in your floor. So yeah, so that's kind of, and then what I do is with the 16 footers, I don't need 16 feet to reach this center wall. I need like 15 foot. So I've got extra, more than 15 foot actually. It's, I'm sorry, less than 15 foot. So even if these were 16 inches on center, so you need a piece that's 14 and 7/16. I just cut a little bit short. It seems to work out better. So instead of making 14.5 to fit between, or in this case 10.5, I make it 10 and 7/16 or 14 and 7/16 if they're 16-inch centers. Each piece is your block. You get your block out of it, so you don't have to buy extra material. You know, so I cut them, I line them up here, and then I cut all the ends off, maybe 10 or 12 at a time, whatever I feel like doing, and then I block and set one block, and that way you can get in there. You can get in with your nailing gun because you don't have the next one yet, at least on one side of it. The other side you still have to kind of toenail in, but saves time. And then let's see what else here. Oh, I put temporary braces, these 2x4s that went across to the center and then from the center to the other side in a few different places, because I made sure that these pony walls here are straight, you know, they're not wavy, you know, so it holds them in place temporary, and then when I come with the floor joists, if they come, I remove them. Another thing to think about too is if you got your toilets, you want to make sure your toilets don't end up, your toilet pipe doesn't end up where there's a joist, so that your toilet doesn't end up, let's say you want it centered maybe between a wall and a countertop or something. You know, if you can't put the toilet where there's a floor joist, so you want to make sure, like here I've got this is a wall here, so the toilet comes out this way from the wall, so now the toilet pipe, 4-inch, well, it's actually 3-inch, will come up here in the center, or you know, there won't be a joist in the way, so it won't affect the plumber, because you don't want them hacking up joists, right? And then you want to be able to place your toilets. You want the freedom to place your toilets either centered or some place that they look aesthetically correct. And then on the other side of the house, I've got a toilet that comes out, you know, this way. So I made sure that it ended up again between. Whereas this toilet sets out perpendicular to the floor joist. The toilet on the bathroom on the other side will come up parallel, but with the floor joist, but it won't be in the way, so that they have to put it somewhere where you don't really, you know, move it over a couple inches, and then it's out of center on some sort of situation where you want it to be centered. So you want to think about that when you're setting your floor joist. A lot of framers don't. I did when I was a framer. I didn't do really houses, I did all commercial, but still I always thought about that. You know, it just takes an extra minute. You look at the floor plans, look where the walls are, look where the toilet is. And when you're laying out your rim joists, you lay that out ahead of time, so when you're rolling the joists, you know, oops, there's a toilet going to be here, and so on and so forth. So anyway, what else? I think that's it. I don't have a selfie stick, so I'm just going to do it this way, and I don't want to do editing. I'm not interested. I'm just going to make the videos. Stuff will come to my mind as I'm talking, and I'll just put the videos on. I mean, if you're an experienced framer, you're not going to learn anything from this, but if you're kind of new at it, or you want to build your own house or whatever, you'll learn from this. Let's see what else. I think, access holes. So each side there's an access panel, and then I made it 2'4" wide, and then I'll end up cutting out the double top plate so to give more height. And then I'll make these panels out of hardy material towards the end of the job. And then where the floor joists are, because now there's no plate for them to sit, I just put a whole bunch of nails. I know you're supposed to use a joist hanger, but geez, all these nails aren't gonna go anywhere. There's one on each side, and then after this is built, towards the end of the job, when I was just about done, I'll come in and I'll line this with 6mm plastic, the black plastic. I'll line the whole floor. And it's a nice clean surface, and then it's also by doing 12-inch here plus your plates, and then from the ground, and then your 7 inches for your foundation, you'll have about 24 inches from the soil to the bottom of the floor joist, which is enough room to move around. And then I'll put like 10 or 12 8x16-inch vents, plastic vents that have a little door that you can open and close. You can buy them online. There's a company that makes them. They're, I don't know, like $12 a piece or something. So I'll put those in here, like 2 on each side or whatever, all the way around the house. A couple for the porch, and then the house will have ventilation underneath, and you can close them in the winter when it's cold. I'm trying to think, is that it? I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's all I can think of. yeah. Anyway, I'll do some progress videos as I continue on this. I'm going to deck it today. It shouldn't take me a day to deck this, maybe a day at the most. I glue down. I use glue, obviously. I glue each joist, and then I use ring shank nails because you won't get any squeaks. You get a couple, but then when you start walking around on the floor, if you hear the squeaks down the road, and maybe in a month or whatever, you know, before you put your finished flooring down, you can just take your hammer and beat those nails down a little further. If you get a few of them that squeak, but basically with a ring shank, they don't squeak. It's worth the extra price for the ring shank nails. Or you can use screws, but that's too time consuming. Anyway, that's it for the day. Time to get to work.